Good morning. We're interrupting programming as Governor Ron DeSantis providing an update on Hurricane Debby.
Let's listen in.
Shortly. We are still at a level 1 activation. We continue to utilize all available resources of the state emergency response team to respond to this storm. This is a Category 1 hurricane. It has followed a track very, very similar to Hurricane Idalia 11 months ago. The maximum sustained winds for Debby have reached 80 miles an hour with higher gusts throughout the storm area. To contrast that with Idalia, Idalia reached close to 120 mile per hour in sustained winds. We have seen significant storm surge. We have seen inundation. We have seen and will continue to see flooding in various parts of the state of Florida. This storm is expected to move throughout north central Florida and likely go into Georgia and in the Carolinas. Yesterday and into this morning, we saw impacts throughout the west coast of Florida, starting in southwest Florida and continuing up the coast. This storm has produced and will likely produce significant flooding events from Sarasota, Bradenton area all the way up to northern Florida. And that's not something that just happens when the storm passes. There's a ongoing threat of that over the ensuing days. Now that Hurricane Debby is making landfall, the most important thing to do is to just protect yourself and protect your family. Don't go out into this storm. Don't drive on the roads, particularly when they're flooded. We have had some traffic mishaps over the last 12 hours. And when you have flood situations, that is the number one way where we will see fatalities, is by people being out on the roads and hydroplaning or having other problems. So do not go walk or drive into flooded roadways. There are hazards there. They're dangerous. We want everybody to be safe. Power. So far, we have about 143,000 Floridians without power. We have a lot of restoration personnel ready to go to get it back on. I think because this is a Category 1 with 80 mile an hour sustained winds, the total number of power outages are not going to reach the level that they did with Hurricane Idalia, and certainly not the level that they did with Hurricane Ian back in 2022. But we do have 17,000 linemen that are ready to assist with restoring power immediately. And I know a lot of the utilities have already restored hundreds of thousands of folks starting yesterday. We also have Starlink internet ready to deploy if that is needed. So we're standing by. We want to assist all the local communities with anything that they need. As I mentioned yesterday, we have been approved for federal disaster assistance. Our pre-landfall declaration was approved. Our National State Guard are ready for search, rescue, and humanitarian assistance as needed. State emergency response teams also fully engaged in preparedness and now our response efforts. We have our Florida Highway Patrol that are ready to enter their Alpha Bravo shifts. That's 24-hour, round-the-clock, nonstop shifts. We have 3,000 service members from the Florida National Guard that are on standby, and that includes search and rescue, route clearance, distribution, and protection of critical infrastructure. They have 10 rotary aircraft and over 400 tactical vehicles staged to support relief operations. And we have our Florida State Guard, where we have 100 soldiers, 9 shallow water vessels, 10 UTVs, 2 amphibious rescue vehicles, and 7 search and rescue crews ready to be deployed from Camp Blanding as needed. Florida Fish and Wildlife, as the flooding happens, they have 12 swift water rescue teams ready to go. And they are going to be very dynamic in this and move to where the problems are. We've also have on hand for this storm statewide 11 million bottles of water, almost 3 million shelf-stable meals. We do not anticipate needing to put a major dent in that at this time, but we will be ready if those circumstances change. Our Florida Department of Transportation has been clearing roads and shoulders for the last few days. Cut and toss efforts to clear roadways and highways will start as soon as the storm passes. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge and the Howard Franklin Bridge have been temporarily closed due to high winds and will be reopened as quickly as possible once conditions improve. And there are a number of roads that have been flooded and that have been temporarily closed. And so as soon as it's safe, they obviously want to get everything back open. We also have FDOT crews staged to inspect coastal bridges, and we'll be monitoring water levels at low-lying bridges near major river crossings, particularly in the northern part of Florida. As I mentioned yesterday, people with disability or special needs, if you need assistance, you can sign up at snr.flhealthresponse.com. That's Florida Department of Health, snr.flhealthresponse.com. Although we haven't had major power outages compared to some of the past storms, if you are without power and you want to use a generator, please do not use that generator inside your home. Make sure you're operating it 20 feet away from the home. We don't want to see anybody get killed based on the carbon monoxide that will build up when those are run inside people's homes. I want to thank everybody who's been involved in the preparation efforts. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. There's going to be a lot of water that's going to be dumped throughout the state, and we're going to see effects of that, not just today, but in the ensuing days. But we are prepared. We have the resources that we need, and those will be deployed as needed to help with the recovery and the response efforts. And I'll turn it over now for further details to Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate you being here early this morning and late last night and helping provide the necessary leadership that is needed for such an event like this. As the Governor indicated, I'm going to start kind of where he's left off. Safety, safety, safety. We're starting to enter places like Tallahassee, Jefferson County. It'll very quickly become Taylor County, Dixie County, where we are now cleaning up. So we need to make sure that we prevent those deaths, and I'll talk more about that. But we need to be safe. Please be safe and stay off the roads. If you are sheltering at home, do not leave at this point in time. Just stay where you're at. Conditions are going to continue to deteriorate outside, especially in the north central Florida and northeast Florida. It is unsafe to drive or walk anywhere. We've already experienced 10 to 12 inches of rain in some portions of southwest Florida, to include Sarasota and Manatee County. Many streams and rivers are rapidly rising. If you look at the USGS river gauge summary, you will see that a lot of those are turning black or very, very dark blue. That means that those rivers are responding very quickly. So again, we expect to have several rivers and streams go into major flood stage. So please be careful if you live along those areas. Some of these areas will continue to receive upwards of 15 to 20 inches of rain. All of that will drain into the river basins. This is going to be an event that is going to be probably here for the next 5 to 7 days, maybe as long as 10 days, depending on how much rainfall we get. So we are not running anywhere. We are staying put, and we are going to make sure that we're here to respond. I want to reiterate the hazards from this storm will be seen and felt far outside the center of the cone. Flood impacts are going to be felt everywhere across north central Florida. This storm is massive, with hurricane force winds extending 25 miles from the center and tropical storm force winds extending 140 miles from the center, covering much of the state from the I-4 corridor all the way north to the state line. We've already had more than 35 tornado warnings issued across the state of Florida. Rest assured that stage resources are safe, secure, and ready for deployment to the impacted areas. We have 6 active fuel depots for first responders across North Florida, with over 600,000 gallons of fuel as of this morning. We have 850 debris disaster management sites should we need to do debris operations. We will most likely see additional tornadic activity as the storm makes landfall this morning and moves across North Florida. Please remember that if a tornado warning is issued in your area, you need to get to an interior room, most likely your bathroom in your home, free of windows and doors, and make sure that you stay hunkered down in that area. If you happen to have something you can throw over your body, such as a blanket or maybe even a light mattress, this will certainly help as well. Be prepared for power outages. The governor talked about that. We will have power outages. The nice thing is this is a Cat 1 hurricane. It's not going to be as widespread as we saw in Hurricane Idalia and Hurricane Ian, but nevertheless, we will have those power outages. Please do everything you can to stay safe and comfortable where you're at, because first responders need to be able to reach you and get to other people during the time of storm. Take care of yourself and your family, sheltering in place as long as that needs to happen. Ambulances, search and rescue teams, and other first responders will not be able to get to you during unsafe weather. I know many of you may start calling for 911 services, but until those winds, typically in each county, die below 40 miles an hour, sustained winds, they will not be able to respond. But as soon as they can, they will, and we have plenty of resources staged to come in and assist. After storm-related deaths are preventable. And I'll say that again. After storm deaths are preventable. We see the majority of our storm-related deaths, especially in low-end category hurricanes, happen after landfall. You heard the governor talk about generator safety. Please make sure, again, reiterate, 20 feet away from any open door or window. Make sure that you wait 20 minutes before refilling a generator. Also, in much of our state has senior citizens. Please do not get up on a ladder. Do not try to put a tarp on a roof. Do not try to cut a limb. We have volunteer organizations that will come and help you with that. All you need to do is reach out to your local emergency management agency or call our cell line, and we will make sure somebody comes and helps you on your property. Do not risk yourself. Do not risk injury. We will come and help you. Thanks to the leadership and dedication of the Governor DeSantis, Florida is the leader in emergency management, and we continue to show it through this disaster response. We are the best at what we do. The men and women that are sitting on that floor behind me worked all night long. Most of them came in at 2 or 3 a.m. this morning, and they will be here through the duration of the day and into the night tonight. We want to make sure you get the latest information, and to do so, please continue to follow us on X and Instagram at FLSERT, that's at FLCERT, and on Facebook at FDM for updates. Governor, as always, thank you so much for your leadership and your assistance as we respond to this disaster.
So as the storm continues to head north, even when it's primarily affecting southern Georgia, I mean, all that rain and all the water, when that's there, that eventually comes down into the northern part of Florida. So when you're talking about flooding, you're looking to see the water that's happening in real time as the storm passes you, but then there's going to be after effects from this storm. You're going to continue to see some of these rivers rise. So there's going to be an ongoing threat of flooding that is not going to end simply when the storm passes. So just be aware of that. Be prepared for that. We have a lot of assets in place, and we're going to be there to help people get through it. And I think that we have probably marshaled more assets than we're going to need to be able to respond. But there will likely be many days where people are going to have to look to see what's happening with the water, particularly as we talk about getting into the northern part of the state. So I want to thank everybody who's worked to get to this point. They've started preparing when this thing wasn't even an organized storm, just because we know how these things can happen. And so the preparation's been good, and now we're prepared to respond accordingly. Okay, any questions?
When do you expect you'll be able to get out?
So we think maybe later today. I don't know if we will fly today, but if you look at some of the places in the Big Bend, that's obviously accessible via ground transportation. So we may do that. I know Kevin's also he has staging areas in different parts of the state. He's going to move some of the resources closer to the Sarasota-Bradenton area, just because they've had a really significant amount of water dumped on them, and we're seeing the effects of that. But we will get out as soon as we can.
How has the flood control around the power substations held up so far?
Well, I'll let Kevin if he wants to say, but if you look at the power outage numbers, this is incredibly modest compared to what we've dealt with in past storms. I mean, Hurricane Ian, I mean, you had millions of people that were out. The restoration was the fastest it's ever been for a major hurricane. But now we're talking about hundreds of thousands. Obviously, as this storm goes throughout the northern part of Florida, you may see more outages. But what we're seeing is not at the level of Idalia, and certainly not at the level of Ian. Now, whether that's because of the devices that we've put in, or just because the storm is not as powerful as those, maybe it's a combination.
Yeah. I mean, the governor certainly said it best, Cody, and that is, we've got stuff out right now and it's still being impacted, but as of right now, the substations where we have installed stuff with Florida Power and Light and a couple of other locations, no issues whatsoever on those substations. The places where we have put it out at hospitals, no issues of flood inundation into the hospitals. So these are, again, we learned this over Idalia and Ian. These are best practices, and it proves that the nation, taking Florida's lead and underneath the governor's leadership of building capability and capacity through disasters, we can be good at flood response events. So again, as the governor has said, we haven't had any issues to date.
I just one more reminder: these when the water rises, when you have streets that can be flooded, that's hazardous. And in some respects, that's even more hazardous than some of the other aspects of these storms. So just please take the adequate precautions. Don't try to drive through this. We don't want to see traffic fatalities, adding up because people are out there when the roads aren't safe yet. It'll be fine. All this stuff gets taken care of. All the roads will be open in the not too distant future. These guys are working really hard, but sometimes when there's a lot of water on the roads, it can be very, very hazardous. So please don't tempt fate. Don't try to go and go through these flooded streets. And as that happens, take the proper precautions. And I think that we'll all be better off for that. I know people want to get different places, but sometimes these roads can be very, very hazardous. We do anticipate a lot of water to continue to be dropped with this storm. And this is just something that people are going to have to be very, very aware of. So we'll be back with another update, and we will probably end up somewhere by the end of the day as well.
You were just listening to Governor Ron DeSantis there in Tallahassee talking about Hurricane Debbie making landfall this morning just about 7 a.m.
It happened
But,
between.
we do
he's
have
coming
a
back, maybe still
report
speaking.
in Dixie County of a car hydroplaning and crashing. We also have a report of, an 18-wheeler in Hillsborough County, right off I-75. Was that because of the roads per se on that one? I don't know, because we do have traffic accidents. But what we do is once we're in a storm situation, any accidents that are within that area, they will be categorized and reported accordingly.
All right, there he's wrapping up, the governor wrapping up a news conference here talking about Hurricane Debbie, a Category 1 storm impacting the Big Bend area, talking about sustained winds and sometimes 80 miles per hour and gust even higher, storm surge flooding. And at one point, I believe they said at 143 people statewide, 143,000 people without power.
Yeah, and the governor's saying they do have crews in place, though, and once it is safe, they will be sending out all of those crews to those impacted areas. Again, the hurricane making landfall around 7 o'clock this morning in Steinhatchee. That's between Cedar Key and Perry. We will have the very latest coming up on WPBF 25 News at 9, but for now, we'll send it back to Good Morning America.